Good morning. Today is day 54 of moving mountains beneath my feet. We're 73 days around the sun, 292 days left in the year. And today is episode 33. So I was talking about the beauty is in the becoming yesterday. And it seems like a recurring theme. The moment I talk about something on here, on this talk, I am faced with more of that lesson, to like really internalize it throughout the day. And so, I want to talk about how when you're becoming the person that you want to be or moving towards the things that you want, we can still find things to be fearful about and be scared. And it's interesting that even though I've been becoming and rising and attracting more of what I want, right? More intimacy and love in my relationship, more connection. I'm attracting people that want to work with me in marketing and telling their story. People that I wanted to work with reaching out to me. I still have the underlying fears of the opposite. And when I focus on those things expand and they grow, right? Internally, maybe not physically, in reality, right? Because my reality is reflective of the journey that I've been on, which is going in deeper, working on myself, improving myself, working on my relationships, improving my relationships. It's planting seeds, and those seeds are sprouting in ways that are being visible in my life. And so looking at the evidence, right, in the opposite manner, right? Normally you're looking at evidence in your life and you're saying, hey, none of the things that I want are showing up. And so that puts you in the state of creating more of that lack in what you're missing. The opposite can happen, right? You can have evidence of you becoming and of you attracting the things that you want and getting more of what you want and having experiences that you desire. And you can still feel fear. And I know I've mentioned this before, but my good friend, my dear friend Elsie, we have another podcast. It's a longer format called May the Love of People Find You. And we were having a conversation. We normally do a podcast. Last time was like an hour long. But we have a podcast conversation that usually gets really deep and vulnerable. And let me go ahead and do not disturb. And then after we stop recording, we have another podcast that's even deeper. It's like a private conversation. And it's always really, really good. And we got on the subject of fear. And I think I mentioned this before, but she had this really nice way of dealing with fear because I was talking to her about, the things that I'm scared of and how to navigate them, right? And so I'm going to try to recreate what she taught me or what she told me, how she manages fear. And I'll probably botch it up again. But the more I try to teach it, the more I can learn it, right? And so she, obviously fear is something that doesn't exist, right? You're scared of some situation or something that isn't happening, that didn't happen, or maybe it's happened to you in the past, right? But regardless, the fear of what you're scared of in that moment hasn't taken place, right? And so if you can have the awareness of saying, hey, this thing that I'm scared of hasn't happened, it's probably not going to happen, but I'm experiencing real fear, and your body doesn't actually know that you're not going to die from this fear. Your body doesn't know that you don't need to run or fight or fly away. Like you're put in a fight or flight response, and this sends your whole system into creating the chemicals that you need to survive, right? And these chemicals create a really bad mix in your body, right? So like a gazelle, when it's running from a lion, gets all this these chemicals that go off in their body. I don't want to say it the wrong way. I believe it's cortisol and adrenaline and all these things. But essentially it's giving the gazelle the extra strength and endurance and jolt of energy to run away from the lion, right? But as if the gazelle gets away, you know, a minute later, it's calm as hell, just eating grass again. It returns to, you know, like a homeostasis. Well, human beings are always in a constant state of stress, constant state of fear. And so like navigating fear, I think, is one of the things that really will help you to feel better in your life. A lot of people are just so scared of so many things all the time. And once you can experience not being scared or have the tools to like navigate fear, then your life becomes a little bit more manageable and calmer, and you know that you can overcome it. And so, like I said, Elsie was explaining this to me. She said, you know, you are aware that, hey, your fear could be very valid. You sit with that. You say, okay, well, it's not real. It didn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's probably not going to happen. But why am I feeling this fear? What is this fear wanting from me? Right, what does this fear mean? Why do I feel scared of this thing? And so you just sit with that for a little bit. Have I overcome this before? Right? You think about that. In having the awareness and doing this exercise of saying, okay, I'm aware that this is a fear. I know that this isn't existing. This doesn't happen, or this isn't going to happen. It's just something that I'm creating that's in the future. That's a possibility. And so in that, you're overcoming it right then and there. But if you have already overcome it, think about, how did you overcome this similar fear before in your past? And so then you're made aware of, hey, not only is this, you know, not real, but I can overcome it if it comes back, right? I have the ability, I've done this before, to overcome this. And so therefore, I can set my fear aside knowing that, hey, it's not real, and if it does happen, I can make it. I can get through it. I can overcome it, right? And so in that knowing, I think it in that little exercise, it gives you the ability to navigate your fear, right? It's really putting it in perspective that, again, it's not real. It's a future thing that might possibly not happen, most likely won't happen. Usually our brains go to worst case scenario. It creates these scenarios that your brain is looking for to protect you. It's a protection mechanism. But moving towards your fear, right? Moving towards the things that scare you, and knowing that you can overcome it, knowing that it's not going to take place, is often a very empowering situation for people. And when they overcome the fears that they have, they are free to rise and be more of who they want to be. Like, who would I be without this fear? How would I feel? Who could I become if I didn't believe these thoughts and these fears that are holding me back, right? And so I've talked about some of my fears in past episodes, and I'm confronting some of them. Others, I'm confronting all of them in a way, but really trying to dig deeper into understanding what is the root cause of these fears. Why do I feel these fears? And how can I continue to move towards what I want despite the fear? And so in wrapping up, I didn't want to make this all about fear, but that's what came through. I know a lot of people, a lot of men fear being vulnerable, women too, but the fear of vulnerability with others is because you're scared. Maybe you've been hurt before, maybe you've been vulnerable before and you've been taken advantage of, but you made it through and you're still here. And while it hurt, really the intimacy that we all crave, that depth of relationship that we all crave, is on the other side of that fear of being vulnerable. And it's really good if you have, and for the women in your life, if you can show that vulnerability and give them the space to be safe. Obviously, emotional safety goes both ways. Sometimes you might not feel safe to share your feelings with your partner or the women in your life. And that's something that you have to create emotional safety in your own life. You're with yourself in order to start to feel more confident to do that with others. Anyway, I think I'm out of time here. I hope you have a beautiful, magical day today. Blessings. I'm actually going to break my 10-minute rule and talk a little bit about gratitude, because that was the last part that I missed from my talk with Elsie, was that after you know that you can overcome these fears, and you know that it's not real, and you understand why you feel those fears, if you can tap into gratitude, if you can really think about the things that really make you feel grateful, that you're alive, your family, your daughters, your husband, your wife, your son, the air in your lungs, right? Whatever you feel grateful for, whatever makes you feel like, wow, I'm so grateful that this person exists or this thing exists. Gratitude is like the most powerful emotion that can overcome any state of being, right? Oftentimes when you're like in fear or like really, really low, you don't want to reach for gratitude because you're like, I don't feel grateful right now. But there's always something you can find to feel grateful for. And if you can just tap into that, if you can just experience for a brief moment that the energy of gratitude, it's literally impossible to feel anything else when you are in that mode. And it can really help you to turn around and overcome whatever you're scared of in moving towards the direction of what you want. And so I just wanted to add this part because it was missing. Both times that I talked about this, I left off gratitude. And so I wanted to add that, is write down a few things that you feel grateful for and really try to feel them, right? If you're talking about, I'm grateful for the love of my life, in my life, this person, then really try to feel how you feel when you think about what they add to your life. If you say, I'm so grateful for my kids, look at their smiles, see their smiles in your mind. Think about moments that you experienced that you're so glad that you had with them. Really try to tap into the feeling outside of the thought, outside of the mental exercise of just, let me write this down. Really try to tap in to the emotion of gratitude, and you would be surprised how quickly and how deeply you can shift yourself and continue to move forward towards what you want when you can tap into that gratitude. And so this is something I'll probably even talk about tomorrow a lot more. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. Have a great day. Blessings.